Welcome to the Unscripted Woman podcast, the show for women who are done living by the rules and ready to reinvent their lives from the inside out. If you're ready to design your next chapter on your own damn terms, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Unscripted Woman podcast. My name is Kelly. I am your host. And today we are joined by Helene Zupank and Beth Valdez. Helene and Beth are two licensed professional counselors residing in the beautiful Arizona desert. That's one of my go-to places I want to try to get to one day. And co-authors of Sticky Note Mantras, The Art and Science of Choosing Your Thoughts, a playful, heartfelt, and science-backed self-help book that helps people stop living on autopilot and start rewriting their brains one sticky note at a time. I was actually on your website yesterday, and it's so cute how you have all of the sticky notes as little memes with all the different mantras. And some of them actually made me laugh out loud.
Hey, our job is done.
That's
They were
right.
so cute. Some were kind of thought-provoking and kind of, um, positivity and stuff. But then there was other ones where I was just like, oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you liked it. That's our thing is try to get those mantras out there and you never know what might resonate with
Yeah,
someone.
exactly. So tell me about the book. How did this happen? What made you want to do this?
So, so, well, Helene, I'll let you take it because it really was kind of
Okay,
came out of your
good. Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, no, yeah. I had just it was something that I always wanted to do because they've been so to me. And then I went back in graduate school in the late 90s and we realized that we both kind of did that to inspire ourselves and to re-cue our brain. Me having OCD as a child and up through adulthood, and Beth with her ADHD. And it was kind of our own stories are in there. And then, of course, we became therapists, and then we started using it with everyone else and found that it was really helpful to take those autopilot cues and actually acknowledge them and then move on to more helpful thought because so many of our thoughts aren't helpful. As a matter of fact, I just had a client yesterday that made up the mantra, I deserve peace. Is this leading
Mm.
me to peace? Like, is this thought leading me to peace? Is this line of reasoning? I was like, so good. That's all of what we're talking about. So that's kind of the idea is redirecting your brain and making those new neural pathways and then repeating it so it sticks. And then you'll have this short cognitive cue that's actually available as opposed to reading a self-help book and being like, that sounded good, but I'm still doing the same shit I always did.
Right, right. Now, I'm a hypnotherapist, so I understand the whole rewiring of the brain. But could you explain to the listeners how the mantras help the brain to rewire the thought process?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's so much research coming out on this too that supports this. Mantras. What we love about them is, there's no one size fits all. So this people can come up with what resonates with them, whether it's a song, a quote, a meme, anything. But it helps us cue our brain. So we have a negative bias. We have these automatic negative thoughts, ants. We talk about it in CBT all the time. But no one really teaches us like, hey, you don't have to engage in those thoughts. You don't have to believe those thoughts. Our brain makes up stuff all the time. And we have to learn to kind of recognize those constructive, helpful thoughts and let the unhelpful thoughts go. And what these mantras do is it cues us into that thinking when we find ourselves in negative headspace or something pops up that kind of throws us out of, staying in a peaceful state. Now you can use your mantra to kind of cue you to get back into that versus kind of spiraling down the negative thought process, like, oh my gosh, the worst is going to end. This is the worst day ever. And when you can stop and say, hold on, this is my now, not my forever. That's my mantra. Things are going to pass. Now I can cue my brain to start instead of spiraling down that path to say, okay, hold on. We can look at this in a different way. Let's reframe this. So what we talk about is a lot of combination of CBT and ACT type therapies. It's really like using those words to cue the brain into choosing different words. Because I tell this to my clients in our first meeting all the time. I say, your words create your truth. Whatever words you're using is going to create your truth. So what truth do we want to create? What is it we need to do to keep our mind in the space we're hoping to be? we use our mantras, we use our cues to do that. I think, not most people struggle otherwise, kind of going down the automatic negative thought route. Did I explain that?
Definitely. And I think the repetitive nature of mantras is what kind of rewires. It's just a muscle, just like your brain is similar to, if you're trying to increase your bicep strength, you need to kind of tear them a little bit first, be a little uncomfortable, and then and then do some of the re-cueing and strengthening. And that's just like your brain. You need something to repeat it. We have these neural pathways that are first like a big field of grass. And then after walking down that path a certain amount of times, it becomes a nice little pathway and then a road. And then we can pave it, make it a super highway, and it'll be more of a first line thought for you instead of last line thought the more you practice.
So then I guess the desired outcome would be that it's an automatic response as opposed to having to use the mantra to get to that space.
It definitely becomes more automatic, but we're always going to need some cues since we're human and we'll always look for what's wrong unless we point it out to ourselves, just like the gratitude practice. We don't tend to go there. And we're just kind of wired for more of that. I want to control things, so I'm going to ruminate when actually, moving on to a different thought and headspace would be more positive and we'd have better outcomes.
Right, right. So when people, I don't think, realize how much we listen to our own thoughts and the way we speak to ourselves. And I remember reading a quote, would you let someone else talk to you the way you talk to yourself? And that really stuck with me because, you're always, oh my God, the bags under my eyes and oh, I look so old. And you see yourself in the mirror and you're like, where the hell did that come from?
Right.
Who
Totally.
is that?
Yeah, yeah. The stretch marks and scars and all of that. There's so much self-negativity, especially with women, that
Yeah, and there's so many different theories that said a lot of internal family systems is another theory saying that there's tons of parts of you and none of them are bad. They're all trying for a good outcome and they're trying to protect you. So maybe looking at some of those parts as like, oh, my inner critic, it is trying to keep me from being embarrassed, trying to keep me in check so I don't get, we have all these ideas that aren't necessarily helpful where we do a lot of self-compassion work. And Dr. Kristen Neff is an authority that we use all her stuff as far as those are some of her questions that you said, like, how do you talk to how would you treat a friend? What tone of voice, what mannerisms, and then what are you manifesting to yourself? And how can we change that to be more helpful? Because it keeps you stuck longer when you're self-critical. And most people think that it keeps them in check or keeps them from keeps their motivation, I have to be hard on myself or I'm not going to meet these goals. When actually like self-compassion helps you meet them and keep going.
Yeah, a lot of people have that old school coach in them, or their parents like, get your head out of your ass, pull yourself together, get going, right? And it works, one time, and so then now our survival brain is like, well, that worked one time, let's keep using it. But it's kind of beating yourself down. And we ask our clients that question a lot: would you speak to a friend the way you speak to yourself? And I think they recognize no, but they don't always know how to then change that, how to do it differently. And so that's the work we do. Is like, well, we want to choose those words of self-compassion. How do we do that? Well, sometimes we need a mantra to cue that, right? Like self-compassion is self-care. It's kind of a little cue or reminder that puts it out there to remind yourself, like, oh yeah, I don't have to beat myself up. I can be compassionate and kind and get a better result.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I know one of my children, well, children, they're adults now, has anxiety and can be triggered into an anxiety attack for something that no one else would even think about.
Yeah.
And I remember that when he was trying to learn coping mechanisms, his counselor said to him, when you have and you feel it coming on, acknowledge it, thank it, say, I see you, Thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm okay. I don't need
That's
you.
perfect. Yeah, yeah, we do a lot of that work as well, acknowledging those parts and actually
Mhm.
giving them self-compassion and saying, "Hey, I know you're trying to help me out, but thank you for doing that, but I'm able to handle it." Kind of looking for that your the higher self. So doing a lot of I am the sky, not the clouds. These feelings and thoughts are going past me, but I don't have to hold on to them. Accept it. Say, like you said, thanking your
Mm.
mind is another great. And we have a lot of those types of techniques in there, just different ways because you never know who's gonna resonate with what. We have funny ones. We have first part of the book has a lot of ones, a lot of ideas about your thoughts, about letting go, visualizing them. For an example, as like passengers in the bus. I think Beth recently made this one up. Like your feelings and thoughts can be in the bus, but they're not going to touch the steering wheel. You're still going to live a values-based life, right? You're still going, even if those are there.
I
So
like
funny
that.
ones like that can be really helpful. Yeah, Beth has some of the greatest ones that I still use all the time.
Going to, yeah. And like the alternative, right, for anxiety and panic attacks is what people naturally do is try to fight it. Oh, no, 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 not that, right, right, which is adds to the fuels the anxiety. But when you kind of roll into that, we're going to ride this wave out. I'm going to accept what's happening. I'm going to, right now, you're not fighting that. You're kind of letting the natural progression of what is that energy and the feelings happen. So it's brilliant. The self-compassion and name it to tame it. Thank you, anxiety brain. I hear you're trying to keep me safe, and we're gonna work with what we got here. Is brilliant because I think most of us intuitively would fight it versus kind of accept it and acknowledge it. And so I think you have to be introduced and taught that. And
Mhm.
a lot of people aren't. They just kind of we call it raw dog in it, out there just trying to fight off those panic attacks by themselves.
The first time I've heard that term used in that way.
I know people always lie, but that's yeah, that's how I call it.
That's that's Beth's specialty is these coining these phrases, and then they're in my head, and I use them all the time.
That's
Oh.
funny. Now, in your practice, I just want to get away from the mantras just for a quick second. Do you work mainly with adults? Do you work with youth and adults? What does your practice look like?
Yes, I think mostly like teens and adults. Not some. Do you still work with children, Elaine?
No, I'm just doing adults now. The online platform kind of doesn't. I don't feel it's as good for kids because I'd like to have stuff for them if they're a little more concrete. But yeah, no, I'm mainly doing adults right now. I know Beth works with teens, which is some because they're a tough crowd.
Hmm.
But yeah, mainly adults, and we're mainly. And
Well,
I kind of specialize in OCD right now and anxiety and all those kind of anxiety disorders. And Beth as well. I know you're doing mostly ADHD.
Yeah,
Well, all over though. But yeah, so we
yeah.
kind of have our niches.
mm,
Trauma-informed care. I think that's kind of both of us too.
right. Do you find that there's a lot of overlap? Like kids with anxiety quite often will have ADHD.
Oh, I
Oh
don't
yeah.
think you can have ADHD without anxiety. I
Yeah,
Yeah,
mean, honestly, they're BFFs. They coexist. That's what I always tell my
they
clients.
do.
Like, right,
Yeah.
most people
right.
come in with anxiety, right, and then we can a lot of the times then we identify it's the ADHD it's actually, and then that once if you have ADHD, like I said, you're going to have anxiety because you're always trying to keep it all together, right? You're
Yeah,
having to think about, oh, I can't leave my keys here, I can't forget, right, all the things, and so it naturally, right, turns on those anxiety systems that they stay on.
right.
Yeah, same
Voila,
thing with
generalized
OCDs.
anxiety disorder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
also OCD is an anxiety disorder as well, because you have these thoughts that are senseless and very disturbing, very ego dystonic. They go against your values. And so, of course, you want to get rid of them, but it's kind of the same process, but
Right.
it causes a lot of panic.
And ADD along with ASD as well,
I have
quite
odd
intertwined.
ADHD. Yes. Hard to
Yeah.
ferret out which is which or both, right? And I always think of the diagnosis is just like this framework that men have come up with, and not everything fits into those neat little categories. So
Hmm.
uh, sometimes it's like, well, it really looks like both. we could give you both, we could choose one. And it's really kind of an interesting process with diagnosis. But more and more, the overlap is yes, I think more prevalent
Yes.
than ever.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you think, and I mean, maybe it's just the way that I notice things, but it seems to me that the ASD, ADHD, all of that seems to be so much more prevalent now than, 40 years ago. Or was it just
Definitely.
not
No,
diagnosed
absolutely.
then?
Right.
A little bit of both, but really interesting research came out of the United Kingdom where they put children on a low histamine diet, and this was across a large swath of populations, people who are neurodivergent, and when they put them on so no food allergy, any food that is like suspected of having allergy, these people were taken off that, and up to 75% of their ADHD, odd ADHD symptoms diminished significantly. So I mean, it really speaks to how much food might come into play
Yeah.
Wow.
into kind of triggering these genes and having it expressed more often. I mean, I'm sure it is a whole ball of wax what's contributing to, right?
Yeah.
Too much social
Social
media, too
media.
much screen time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is more prevalent than ever, though. See it all the time.
Yeah. So when someone is starting to spiral down one of those tracks where they're starting to get into the negative thought and um, they're just getting deeper and deeper and deeper like we do.
Yeah.
What is the best? I mean, obviously the sticky note mantras, but what's the first thing you would tell them to do to try and bring them back out from that spiral that they're heading in?
Get moving.
Well, yeah, exactly. Get
You move
up.
your body, you move your mind. Because like right when you sit, you're stuck, you can just circle. But if you get up and move, you're more likely to, like I would have them throw on some bilateral music, get up and clean, go for a walk. Because get that bilateral, pulling in our little left brain, body's moving now, we can kind of move through the thoughts. Like that would be number one. If you're spiraling and you're getting stuck at kind of feeling that emotional dysregulation, you can't get out. That is my number one recommendation.
I
Move.
When you say
agree. Lunge.
bilateral, do you mean like a binaural beat or do you mean
Yes.
stereo?
Yes. Yeah, there is bilateral, which is the brain spotting music by David Graham. There's bilateral, and then there's all these new types that have like, behind the beats, but anything that goes left, right, left, right, left, right, you're getting that bilateral. So it's
Okay.
helping us get out of just right, irrational, emotional thinking and pulling in, let's get that left brain in there so that that's the check. Instead of like, oh, the world's ending, this is the worst, nobody likes me, and now I'm walking, I'm moving. Hold on, I have some friends, like, right, we can get that little person of reason in there, kind of infusing some logic in there. I think and the bilateral, I think, speeds that up. Walking, right, is bilateral. So that's why they say go for a walk and clear your head.
Mhm.
You add on the bilateral beats, and I think now you've got, you're doing it twice. Just like when we do EMDR, you can do the hand buzzy, you can do the, this, there's the
Yeah,
visual, kind of
Right.
I
engage more
agree.
the senses.
I think doing something to kind of break that cycle and recognize that you're in the cycle and naming it, naming the story. Work out with a lot of people to create their mantra ahead of time that we know this is a pattern. Like, okay, you have decision paralysis. So we're going to use, I always look at this one that there's a Chinese product that's be not afraid of going slowly, just don't stand still. And that has been one of my biggest mantras, of course, from Beth. Just don't stand still. I have it in a big thing up here. And a lot of times I sit down at the computer and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I have to do so much today. And I'll try to just, okay, first I'm going to make the list. And then I'm going to say, just, things get done in a series of steps. So I'm just not going to stand still. I'm going to keep going, and that's all that I can ask of myself. And I'm going to schedule in breaks or a lot of those ideas, especially for ADHD, to get you to plunge, and a lot of times we'll even tell people time what you're doing. If you were thinking about emptying the dishwasher for 3 hours and it took you exactly 2 minutes. And once you kind of show your brain these things, because the amygdala really learns by doing, um, and not just talking about it. so we can talk about it till we're blue in the face and say, yeah, this is what you need to do. And but you really have to do it and prove to yourself, oh, wait a minute, I do have agency. I can break this cycle. I'm gonna splash cold water on my face. I'm gonna put a cold water pack on my back of my neck. I'm gonna do some of the temperature changes we have known to regulate the nervous system, or just of course going for a walk is the easiest one. Get up, move. Just
Change your scenery. Yeah.
danger.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's so many different of these tricks that we kind of go over that kind of reset your nervous system, where most people just stay unregulated. And then, of course, if you rumination is the choice, how much you focus your attention on something, you can choose a different thought. And that's where having your mantras kind of pre-made, having songs that really help, having that's very powerful because it uses more brain power and it gets you thinking. So there's so many
We
different
use the Elvis, a little less conversation, a little more action when we're like stuck. All right, Helene, we're done talking about this. Let's conversation,
yes,
a little more action. Let's get moving. Yeah,
right.
sometimes you just have it humor. And what we love about mantras too is it infuses humor all the time, and humor can, I mean, in a moment, change the direction of how a conversation's going, even moving into emotional dysregulation. Because right, we flood ourselves with happy chemicals when we smile and kind of get a laugh. So
Mhm.
humor is we infuse it. That's, I think, for
And it
2050.
diffuses. It's one of the
Yes.
best diffusion skills. And talk about all the different ones out there, being in the present moment, grounding, all this stuff. But yeah, if it's humor, that just gets me every time.
My
Yeah.
husband will always say, "Don't therapize me." I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna humor you then." Like we're gonna make you laugh then, because that's my husband management plan.
Love that. Yeah, I know when I have a task I have to do that I really don't want to do, whether, it's cooking a big dinner or housework or taxes or
Yeah.
what have you, I'll just put on some of my favorite 80s music and dance through the house while I'm doing it. And it goes so
Yeah,
much
that's
faster.
exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, put your music on and you can get it in. Just having those kind of strategies gets you to take a deep breath and jump in and say, yeah, I can do hard things and I'm going to make it fucking fun too.
I
Gets
prescribe
you.
dance parties all the time. Yes, please dance and sing. Double down. Let's get some vagus nerve activation. Sing and
Yeah.
dance as loud as you can. You will
Yeah.
feel better, undoubtedly.
Yeah. I love that. My family, not so much, but
You're creating memories for them.
That's right.
oh yeah. Yeah. Mom's going to get locked up soon. Um, so in the book itself, how many mantras are there?
Holy cow!
Oh
I don't know if
gosh.
it's the rest. Is that
I
a
know. I just
lot?
said a lot. So we have different categories. I don't know if that'd be helpful to go over. We have
Hmm.
topics for like mantras just for everyday obstacles, and that's on like rainy day mantras. We have perfectionism, positive self-concept, laughter is medicine, rediscovering your curiosity, inner strength. So those are things like, I can do hard things. I'm going to be curious about my thoughts and not, humor is healing, which we've talked about. Believing in yourself and realizing that imperfection is not the enemy, which our brains always say it is. It's just being rigid. Um, and then we have like things that encourage letting go, a lot of acceptance mantras. Acceptance work is really important.
We sing "Let It Go" all the time from Frozen. Just
Yes.
that's like we're all right. It's time to let it go. Let it go.
Fun.
It works.
Yeah.
Again, it cues the brain. It gets us into that space that we're always um,
And then
trying to
I
redirect
think
to.
we exactly, we did talk about the mantras to inspire action, self-care, mantras, gratitude, breath work, introspection, mind-body connection, all those basic topics. And then
Hmm.
at the end of each chapter, we have alternate mantras in case you don't like the name of the chapter, the main mantra. Then we have quotes that's a mantra, songs that's fourth mantra. So really, there's just so many. I mean, I would say
Yeah.
hundreds. Yeah.
Wow.
There's
Wow.
no one size fits all. Like right, what resonates with me may not always resonate. Other
Oh,
people.
Right,
Helene
right.
and I love like the Big Lebowski. Fuck it, dude, let's go bowling. And people don't always get it. You can see people look like, because that's like our cue, like nothing's going right. Let's just go. Let's change the scenery,
Something
right?
else.
Sometimes people look
Right.
at us like, oh, what are you talking about? But to us, we think it's hilarious and it works.
We have
So
a great, our sense of humor is perfectly aligned somehow. Somehow, she's my person, but and I think it's to make sure everyone has, depending on what's important. Any of religion's important to them, maybe making that kind of mantra. What do they find funny? And I've had people tell me they have certain people in their life that are just the most easygoing person ever, and we've made up the what would that person do? Or as opposed to just silly
Hmm.
things like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna start if when I'm getting in a spiral, I'm thinking about, what would my father-in-law did? Things like that. So it really is individual, and people make up the best ones.
Yeah. I love the fact that you have self-care mantras because that is something that we are so bad at doing.
So,
You
yeah,
know,
people are
women,
getting
women and mothers, right?
and
We
I was
put
going to say
everyone else
women and
first.
moms, we're always last. Does everybody else have everything they need? Is everything done that needs to be done? Is there anything I need to get ready for tomorrow? Did I forget anything? What else is going on that I need to know about? As opposed to just, getting in a hot bubble bath with a glass of wine
yeah,
and taking 15 minutes for yourself.
that's just wrote a blog about um, moms, working moms, and it was
Yeah, the
very much
cognitive load that moms carry around is unbelievable. I mean, not just like the care, everything men are doing better. I'm not good, it's not men bashing, but we still carry the majority. We still do the appointments, we still, do the school meetings and
Hmm.
um, not just the care of our husband, the care of our kids, the running of the house and work and all the things. And our mind is rarely quiet. That's why we have 100 tabs open all the time. And we have to reteach our mind how to be quiet because we're so used to having this large cognitive load. And there's a great book and I wish I could remember the author's name, but it's like How to Not Hate Your Husband After Having Kids. And it was such an eye
yeah,
opener for me because it was like,
That should be given by the hospital with every
yes,
birth.
it should be an automatic gift. Hospitals of America, please start sending this out because it really speaks to that about, how you end up carrying more of this load and they don't understand why you're stressed out all the time. Well, because you're constantly
exactly.
having 10 balls juggled in the air at the same time. So yeah, and
Right.
what's the first thing to go, right? Is our self-care. Like we quit
Yeah,
exercising or we quit meditating or we quit getting together with friends when family gets busy or needs. And I think it needs to be prioritized more because it really gives us that room to breathe and reset.
Hmm.
yeah, preventative things are really helpful, and we try to promote that, like doing just, I mean, even a 1 minute meditation, 1 minute where you slow your breathing down every day, but having those things in or scheduling, yeah, I'm going to take 10 minutes to sit down and read my book, and then I'm going to go back, and then one thing and then a break. And then just because the more used to you are of cleaning your mind, of doing things where it captivates all your attention and you don't have room for thought, it's going to realize it can let go of the past and future. Live in the present. Yeah.
Right, right.
There's a
So,
brilliant strategies for moms out there if anyone's listening. You tell them, I heard this on a radio show a long time ago. There's a new law that's been passed by the federal government. All moms have to be off duty by 7 p.m. I'm sorry, it's out of my hands. If you need anything, it has to happen before 7. After 7, completely off the clock. So now you've got this protected time and it works. If you hold to the boundary, kids will learn, and even husbands, to respect that. And now all of a sudden, instead of working up till like right, getting the kids in bed and everything, all the things, you've set boundary, you're creating structure and routine, and now you've got protected self-care time. I used it when my twins were younger, and it was literally a gift from the heavens. It lasted for about a year, but I had a year of this special time that I would have not had otherwise. I think it was
wow.
invaluable.
It's funny because here I'm in Ontario, Canada, and back 22, I think, the provincial government actually passed legislation for remote workers where you are not allowed to be contacted by your employer outside of office hours.
Brilliant.
And
Yeah.
you didn't have to answer emails. You didn't have to, and if you did, then you had to get paid for a minimum number of hours. And it was specifically for salary workers. I mean, wouldn't that be a fantastic thing for moms?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
It's exactly what you just said, but this is for workers, but they don't come up with something like that for mothers.
No,
No.
we got to be cagey and come up with it. False
Exactly.
laws.
'Cause
Great false
I was
laws.
going to say, we do make up most of what we think we should be responsible for,
Hmm.
what time we should be, so kind of like reconstructing, like, yeah, what do I think about that? And just getting some of those auto thoughts. "Oh, I have to do it all. I'm a mom now, and I don't have any time for myself." And then realizing that, the whole oxygen mask, put it on someone, your kid first, you first, and then your kid, that you do have more capacity to be present when you take that time.
Hmm. So for people who want to start following your advice and making their own mantras to help them through, is there a certain framework that you follow when creating a mantra?
We have a couple visuals in the book of like charts and things. So for people that like visual, but really it's, thinking of a trigger or situation that comes up often for you. And then what emotions and feelings go on and body sensations, so recognizing that, and then checking out those automatic thoughts that seem to come up. Um, and then, we think of a more healthy balance thought. We think of quotes that could apply, songs, and maybe some movie quotes as well. All these different things, like what coming up with, what would be a more healthy balanced thought as opposed to, I know Beth has this example in the book about, like, I have my husband invited people over tonight and I just feel like a failure because it is totally not something as I would like it to be, but this is last minute. And so kind of like this is something that happens often, like, oh my gosh, I feel like I just don't keep things as clean as I would want. I'm a failure. The world's gonna judge me. And then just kind of saying, okay, when that happens, I'm gonna say they're coming over to spend time with us and not the house. And I'm going to give myself a break and say, I'm doing the best I can with the limited time I have. Try to get some in, but you know what, if it doesn't? And so then making that condensed in something snappy and funny that that you could tell yourself and not just this general idea. Um, I think Beth has what's your favorite? Like, I'm doing my best today and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not at my best today, and that's okay. So like on the days I'm off and I'm like, oh, good Lord, Beth. And I'm like, oh, I'm just, I didn't sleep well. I'm not at my best. Because I mean, in the past, I would have just went down the self-recrimination path. But, you know, since we met in graduate school, we both talked about how we use these quotes and mantras. And I've always used quotes, even when I was little. We talk a little bit about it in the book, but because it cues my mind to think something differently. Otherwise, I really do just I have emotional dysregulation. I have ADHD, so I can spiral down with the best of them. But I really have learned to redirect. And by doing that, I've noticed the rewiring because I don't go there as often, as frequently, as deep. It's much easier to redirect. So I know my brain has pruned out some of those old networks and built up these new ones. And it's much easier to redirect feelings. And I think most of the people I work with with ADHD, that's one of the hardest things about ADHD. When you get emotionally dysregulated, to get re-regulated, it's really hard. It really likes to stay down in there. But I got to say, these work. These really get you moving in the direction you're wanting to go much easier. Yeah, it definitely gives it. And what we love about sticky notes, we talked a lot about this too. They're changeable, right? So as we grow and learn, some things may resonate with us, so you can toss them. But we talk a lot about, we work with clients and we wanted things to stick with them. So we always had to like write it on the sticky note and stick it on them. And kind of that
Mhm.
visual of like, look, we want this to stick as you leave, right? This is yours to take with you. And I do it the same thing. I will stick a sticky note on my thing, like, you're gonna be fine today. And
Right.
it usually falls off somewhere, but that's okay. I've got that visual and it cues my brain into the direction. In a lot of ways, and I know this is woo-wooing, but it's manifesting too, right? You can
Hmm.
say, I'm going to create joy in my day. Now I've set my intention. Now I'm going to probably choose things that are going to make that come true. I'm going to choose things that create joy. Had I not come up with that intention in the morning, maybe I wouldn't have those behaviors that to choose joy more in that day. So it works in a lot of different ways. Because again,
Hmm.
words create your truth. What truth do you want for you today?
Right. I mean, the
And with
reticular activating system's brilliant, right? So the more you do it, the more you're going to see it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
same
We
thing with
focus on,
OCD
right?
as
What we're
well.
looking at, we focus on. And whatever we're focusing on, we're going to find. So
yeah,
what do you want to find?
right. So, Helene, what's your favorite mantra? We had Beth's. What's yours?
Oh, from my OCD days, I had so many intrusive thoughts. I had no idea what was going on until later, but my mom also had OCD and we would start making up phrases. One of my favorite ones was that's a brain glitch. You don't have to pay attention to that because I had so many intrusive thoughts and they were so important to me. Someone's going to misunderstand me, someone's not going to love me, so I would just, it's easier for me to just do these things than not do them because then I have so much anxiety. But realizing that my brain was firing these thoughts and they weren't true, they were just a bunch of false messages, or, that's a false alarm. It's another one. Because I would think, like, of course I have to pay attention to it. I have all these chemicals flooding my system, and oh my gosh, there's an emergency. But kind of reframing it that I don't have to really pay attention to every thought. I don't agree with it. I have to choose it. Um, And that's why we did the art and science of choosing your thoughts as our subtitle, because it really is. It does not plague me now I mean, it used to be every single waking thought. So it really does work.
Mm,
Or else I'd still be taking 2 hours to get ready for high school. Or right now, get ready for the pod. It's ridiculous how much your mind, when it's not really something that if you let it go, it's not going to change anything. But it feels like you're like, okay, you got a gun pointed between your eyes. Like, let's do this now. We
right.
need to make this safe. So yeah, those are some of my favorites. And people with OCD, oh my God, they come up with so many good ones that I'm like, gosh, it is helpful. It gives you that idea that you can have some space between and you can have these thoughts and then you can still act on your values, spend time
Mm,
doing something like that. Yeah.
nice. And so, if people want to find the book, where do they get it?
It's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble, it's on, gosh, it's
Walmart,
basically
Bam Kazam. What is
Bam
it?
Stamps,
Bam's
that's
book?
right.
Yeah.
But you can go to our
Yeah.
website. It's, mantras.com. It on there, or, Amazon's always easy, but
Do you happen to know offhand, is it available on Amazon.ca as well as .com?
uh,
Okay.
That's a good question. We will find out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know people bought it in Australia and Europe, so I
Oh,
would
then
guess
we
they
have
could
it too.
probably buy
That's
it in
fine.
Canada. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we have it too. Okay. Good to know. Just for the listeners that are Canadian. So,
Yes.
It's funny, it's spicy, and it's relative, like it's very relevant, like it's relatable. That was kind of the word I was looking for. When we first started writing this 20 years ago, it was very much like we were going academic, stiff, like it was very, and Helene's like, you know what? Let's make this fun and spicy and be more of ourselves. And so it's a very easy read. That's kind of consistent feedback.
did this start as a
Yeah.
clinical research paper?
More a passion project. Like we
Oh,
both
okay.
were, oh my gosh, I was talking about how I use coach, his mantras. She's like, let's write a book. I'm like, yeah. And we would, and like this is over 20 years. We had kids in the process, health things. I moved out of state for a while, but we kept just kind of meeting and getting together. And Helene was really ADHD, I lost focus a long time ago, but she kept sending out, queries to agents and publishers. And so she
Well,
really is
let's
the
just
one
say
that got
we're
it
a
going.
good balance. We're a good balance. 'Cause Beth has so many talents that I'm like that I'm not good at, and so we definitely balance each
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, for people who want to find out more about it, reach out to you, where do they find you?
Our website, like we mentioned, stickynotemantras.com, can pretty much lead you to everything. Instagram and but we all are on Instagram and Facebook at Sticky Note Mantras. And yeah,
Are you on
We're
definitely.
LinkedIn
on
as
all
well?
social media. Yeah, all social
Yep,
media.
we're on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good to know. So I will put everything in the show notes so
Thank you.
people will be able
Awesome.
to find it. But good to know. Um, okay, that's great. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been a lot
Thank
of
you, Kelly.
fun. Love
Thank
the
you for having
idea.
us.
And they just, like I said, the ones I saw, I really, really liked. So I think I need to buy the book. So,
Nice. Oh, we would love it if you did, and leave us a review if you liked it on
yeah.
Amazon.
Absolutely, absolutely. For watchers or slash listeners, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, leave a comment. Everything helps the algorithm. And if you're listening to this on streaming, such as Apple, Spotify, again, leave us a like or a comment. I will answer all of them. So. Thank you for being with me. I really enjoyed this. And thank you for sharing these great ideas for people to just be able to kind of manage their lives a little bit easier.
Kelly.
Thanks for having us. It was delightful.
And for those that are watching, we will see you next time.